Hey, Michaela,
Yes, Warwick.
have you ever been caught out not being present? Like someone's talking to you and you're checking social media, or worse still, you're actually on the phone to somebody and you're not paying attention and, watching TV or something like that?
Well, I'm just finishing this email. What'd you say?
Oh, don't worry about it.
Okay. Uh, yeah, it happens every day, but anyway. All right. You ready?
Yep.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, helping you get off the tools and into true business ownership so you can spend more time doing the things that matter most. Now, here are your hosts, Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark.
So, welcome to the Tradies Business Show. Michaela, you with us?
Oh, yeah, we're recording. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. Sorry. Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah.
You ready now?
Yeah. No.
Yep.
Oh, I'm here, fully into you, Warwick.
Right. Sorry, I didn't want to distract you from what you were doing or anything.
Oh, well, I was just cooking dinner, writing an email, and typing a text. But hey, always got time for you.
Now I know you're joking.
How was your holiday? You had a recent holiday, which has actually been the first one in 2 years that we've been working together.
Yeah,
You've
that's a bit.
actually gone offline. You had no phone reception. It was like weird for me. But anyway, how was it for you?
It was weird because I wasn't pestering you every day with text messages and, hey, what are we doing about this? And what did you want? What did you want me to do with that? It was fantastic, actually. First proper offline holiday. Hey, I reckon I've just coined a new term: offline holidays.
Mm.
Because everyone has these online holidays where they go on holidays, but they're still online. And I'm trying to
Yes.
convince one of my wingman clients they're going away for a month from their business. It's a big occasion for these guys, but they're feeling pretty ready. The business is in good shape. They've got some good systems in place, but the wife is telling me that, she's still expecting to check her emails and stuff most days. And I said, well, why don't we set a goal of having, 7 days offline or 10 days offline so she actually gets a break? And you could just see almost the fear in her eyes of, what?
Mm.
Not check my stuff? And although and they're going overseas, so there's not much they can do because they're leaving the country. But yeah, it was just like this whole thing of, yeah, but I'll just check my emails and stuff. And I think we underestimate how much of an intrusion that really is.
Because I know when I go on holidays, I always think I'm going to do that. But actually, when I get on holidays, the last thing I feel like doing is checking it. So I actually try and not. And
Yeah.
I do get a bit funny about it, but actually doing it is anything work related once you're in that zone is just the worst thing I could possibly be doing.
Yeah.
So,
It's just a habit I think we get into. I don't necessarily think many of us need to do that stuff. And I think it's also having access to this technology and everything has probably made us a little bit sloppy and lazy because we don't organise ourselves, we don't get systems in place, we don't plan ahead before we go on holidays so that we can take a break. And although we go away from our house and our business, a lot of us end up just taking our work with us. And it's not really what holidays are meant to be about. They're meant to be about taking a break. So, yeah, I felt great. I went bush and I half deliberately did that so that I didn't have any mobile service because I'm just as bad as the next person. But I actually got into a bit of a habit I was sort of gone for a bit over a week. I got into the habit of not checking my phone and I'd sort of leave it lying around and I'd think, I went to leave my phone because I stopped looking at it for 4 or 5 days because it didn't actually do anything. And then even when I got back, I kind of got out of the habit of checking my phone. And I must admit, it's been a couple of weeks now and I'm still not sort of surgically attached to my phone again yet.
well, good. Don't
So it's
go
really
back to
good.
that.
And it's made me a bit more organised as well. I check my emails back to sort of batching that up and even telling people that are trying to contact me at sort of, late in the evening or whatever. I've actually found myself saying to people, hey, thanks for the message. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'm just about to log off or clock off or have dinner or something. I haven't allowed that to intrude on my space as much.
Is that why you never answer any of my texts anymore?
Oh, no, that's just I don't like talking to you.
But I honestly have noticed that there is a big gap between replied texts to mine.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm pleased that you're...
Unless it's something urgent. Like if you sent me a message and said, hey, we've got to get this article submitted by close of business today for a, major publication or something, then I'd reply and say, what article? No. But, I'd get back to something that's urgent. Or if I've got a client having a meltdown or they need to get back to a potential employee or something, then I'll respond to that. And I respond to all my messages. Yeah, I'll try and do within an hour or so. I think that's reasonable these days.
I think that's more than reasonable. I don't think, someone contacts you, don't expect an answer for a few hours. Even years ago, you would be a day or two before you'd hear from someone, and that was normal. And I guess technology's changed all that and expectations are much higher. But seriously, you're not on call for everyone.
And I think our listeners some of them might be sitting there saying what I've heard from people before is, yeah, that's all well and good, and Michaela, you guys aren't having customers ring you up wanting quotes and wanting you to come out and look at their plumbing or their electrical or they need their car fixed or whatever. And I get that, and I absolutely believe in fast response to people with their inquiries. But there are, if you look at technology, it has actually given us some great tools to be able to do that stuff without us having to necessarily sacrifice our own life. And, you look at some of the marketing automation that we can set up with online bookings on websites and online inquiries, and lots of people make inquiries online these days. You can have some really cool automated responses go back that are personally worded, very unique and quite impressive for someone to get an instant reply back to a web inquiry saying, hey, thanks so much for your inquiry. We love our customers. Someone will give you a call in the next 30 to 40 minutes to chat to you about your needs. And it's all about positioning people. I spoke about this in our Toolkit live video on Wednesday night last week, whenever it was. Anyway, it was recent for our Tradies Business Toolkit members. And just talking about the power of positioning statements and letting people know, hey, I got your inquiry and I'll give you a call in 3 weeks or 2 hours or tomorrow. And so you tell people what's going to happen and sort of do it all professionally so that you don't get sucked into this idea that you have to get back to people within 7 seconds or they're going to go to the next guy.
Yeah. And it's all about setting expectations.
Yeah. And you know what? If they're the sort of person that is going to go to the next guy because you took 8 seconds to return their phone call, then I'm pretty sure most people would have those horror stories of that customer that you went out of your way to help them, you got back to them quickly, you did 7 quotes, you stayed back late to meet with them or whatever, and they turned out to be a bloody nightmare customer.
And I do agree, we do need to get back to people, as quick as possible. And for some of our listeners, that's taking the calls and doing all that and booking people in. Get that. What I get frustrated at is that non-urgent things or things that aren't a priority are eating up people's days. And so then they're working at night or they never have time. So I think that, taking out the customer service, and yes, you can build in systems and things to help that. And yep, sometimes you just need to take those calls and book them in. But you've got to understand that other people contacting you, that's on their time. That's their priorities, not necessarily yours. Exactly. And by batching that other stuff, will make all the difference. You just got to, evaluate each contact point that you have coming in, whether it's phone, email, messenger, whatever, is this right now the focus that I need to have on, or is it taking away from what I should be doing? You know, and if you don't need to be answering the calls and things like that and checking your email constantly, just get out of it. Turn off notifications. And I'm talking an hour or two. It's not going to kill you. But I'd be shocked if you didn't see a really better increase in your productivity during that hour. You'd get more done. You'd get a better result because you're clear as the saying, you never have time and things like that during the day because you get so many interruptions. Well, you're allowing that to happen. And I think that you need to certainly set your team expectations around what you need to grow the business. It's only going to benefit them as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, we sort of hammed it up a little bit at the start of this episode with you being distracted, or at least I hope you were joking. It's not the first time you would have done that to me. But I know I'm guilty of having done the same thing in the past with my daughter and my now ex-wife. I feel bad even confessing to this, but, you know, being more worried about an email that just came in on my bloody phone than my daughter showing me an ant crawling along the ground, because I just got into the false belief that those other things were more important, that, you know, retaining my clients and getting back to people and, you know, organising my calendar and all that sort of stuff was just so damn important that I then started to decrease the level of importance of other things, like, you know, like that example of my daughter showing me a friggin' bug on the ground. And to her, that's the most important thing in her day. And she's seeking connection with me. And, you know, my ex-wife probably suffered a little bit of that over the years, and no doubt that contributed to why she's my ex. But I wrote a blog about this recently about my dog. And, well, I don't know if our listeners know that I had my dog put down recently, but it was a little while ago now. And I still miss my dog. He was a cool dog. He's my best mate. And, you know, we all know that pets and dogs in particular are just, they live presently. They live moment to moment. And so I'd come home when I still lived with my my ex, and, you know, I'd come home and he'd bark and carry on. And most of the time, all I could think about was that he was making so much noise, and I was frustrated because that was going to upset my wife at the time, or, you know, wake my daughter up or whatever. And so I'd be quiet, you know, shut up. And I loved my dog, and I didn't treat him badly, but it was just that frustration with the interruption, and occasionally I'd go out and give him a pat, but it wasn't until he got cancer about 18 months ago, and he had to have surgery, and we thought we were going to lose him, and then my wife and I split around the same time, and it really just kind of hit home to me that, holy crap, all this time I've been so focused on other stuff that I thought was really, really important. And hey, it's still important stuff. You know, we've all got to run our businesses and keep our clients and find new ones, and we all have to do those things. But seriously, for me to take 3 or 5 minutes out to have a wrestle with my dog, was good for me, and obviously good for the dog. But, you know, I really started to change that after I accepted the fact that he wasn't going to be around forever. And after I split with my wife as well, you know, and I see my daughter much less now than I did before, I'm squeezing every moment out of my interactions with my kid. And I did with my dog right up until I had to have him put down about 4 weeks ago. And so I was actually really grateful for the smack in the face that those pretty shitty situations gave me around just being present, and being present with, even with you now, Michaela. You know, like we're recording an episode, and rather than checking Facebook or even being tempted to have a look at Instagram or anything like that while we're recording, I'm sitting here staring at a wall. And you know, being present with our listeners who are listening to this episode. And I don't know, perhaps they can tell the difference. I know I can tell the difference when someone's being present with me.
Yeah.
And giving me their full attention.
And I've been experiencing a lot of this. I'm guilty of it every day with the 3 kids and the businesses, and I'm offering cooking dinner, writing an email, and talking to my child at the same time. Like, that's just chaos. But it really hit home to me the other day when my oldest son, who's 10 now, said, "Oh, I really love just sleeping with you, Mum, because I just get to chat to you." All he wants to do is have a chat to me. And it'll be about things I have so not interested in. It can be about a Star Wars something, or he'll ask me, who will win out of Batman and Superman, all the big life questions. But it really hit home the other day when he said, my favourite thing in the world to do with Dad would be just to sit and watch a movie with him. And he said, I don't care what movie, that would just be the best day ever. And because my son loves his iPad, and he said, I'd give up my iPad for that, which to him is a big deal. And when he watches a movie with my husband, which they do, but just obviously not nearly enough, my son talks all the way through it. So it can't be a movie that he wants to watch because he will just not talk, but he has his attention.
Yeah.
And he just wants to interact with him. And, that nearly brought tears to my eyes. And my husband was like, oh, man, I've really got to make more time out to do that. It's such a simple thing as watching a movie. He didn't want to go to a theme park or go motorbike riding. He just wants to have Dad to himself, for an hour. And, there's 3 boys in the house, so getting our attention and just having us can be really hard. But, the kids absolutely love, because we've discussed on the show, we have separate bedrooms, that they love to sleep in Mum's room. And I don't like it. It drives me nuts anyway. But what I've realised is it is that they have my sole attention. There's nothing else besides me and them talking in bed. And they just get so excited. You can just see their whole temperament change. And it's just made me realise how we're not present. Just because we see them every day or we're home here, I can't tell you how many times I've helped one of them with their homework while I've still been writing emails and having them sit next to me. And I think, we need to do this at the dining table. I need to be watching them, every word they write, and just it's those little things that they'll look back on. And, being more present with my husband. He absolutely hates it when I'm on the phone or a computer and talking to him. He just wants to have a normal conversation with me. So I think it's just those little things that are going to make all the difference in our life. And we're going to be more focused on what we're doing and produce better results and have more meaningful conversations and interactions than we would normally.
And, there's a risk, I suppose, that we could get all misty-eyed and talk about this stuff in a way that, our listeners might be sitting there thinking, yeah, well, that's great. And hopefully, some of you can identify with these lessons perhaps, or that you take something from this and change your day-to-day life. But even if you want to bring this back to purely a business focus and think about customers as people rather than dollars in the bank or sales or revenue or whatever. And I'm sure most of you listening do treat your customers really well. I'm not suggesting for a minute that, you're all taking for granted your clients and your customers and your staff. But I have to say, in my travels as a consumer and as a business consultant and as a podcaster with you, Michaela, unfortunately, the norm is that people they're not present. I've dealt with trade businesses and I've had to deal with a few organisations with, I've moved house recently and I've actually moved to a regional town. For those that don't know, I now live in Toowoomba. So I had to get away from all the baddies chasing me. But in all seriousness, the thing I love about Toowoomba is people up here, they actually have the time for a chat. And they're busy. They're running businesses. They're running busy trade businesses. There's a lot going on up here. It's one of the fastest growing regions in the country at the moment. But people here just still have some of those what get referred to as old-fashioned values where they will literally stop and take the time for a quick chat. And I'm only talking a few minutes, so it's not hours out of their day. But when I first moved here, it really struck me, and it was kind of a bit weird because these people were talking to me as one of their customers. Everything from butchers to mechanics to, even the Telstra guy that came and hooked up my business broadband. Everyone's up for a bit of a chat. They're a bit more polite. They're a bit more present. And it really does stand out. And it's some of that good old-fashioned values that I think, technology is fabulous and I love it, and I'm waiting for my iPhone 7 Plus phablet thingy to turn up in the mail any month now because apparently there's a really long waiting list for these things.
Oh, so you went the new one?
Yeah.
Side point. We had a big discussion about this. I was going to ask you what you finally decide on.
I went the whole hog. I've gone for the Big Daddy.
Right.
Mainly because I'm getting older and my fat thumbs and my crap vision means I need a bigger screen.
You'll never go back, believe me.
But, it really does stick out. And so for me as someone who's lived, on the Sunshine Coast and in Brisbane for years, it does stick out, that connection that people make here. And I think all of us could do to actually implement a bit more of that in the way we talk to customers. And I've ranted a lot, and so have you, Michaela, about crappy customer service experiences where, it's funny, I was back down the Sunshine Coast getting some warranty work done on my motorcycle at the dealer that I bought it from again recently. And it was kind of weird to go back there because, I really experienced that detached indifference from the customer service people there.
Interesting. Already you're noticing it. You're getting Toowoombaized.
I know. I'm turning into a country boy.
Bit slower up there, the mountain. But that's what,
all listeners from Toowoomba.
But that's it, there's this perception that country people are slower. But that's like a good thing,
because they take the time to connect with people. I think a lot of the times, the people that I associate with more so nowadays, they've just got their values and their priorities a bit more straight. They haven't fooled themselves into believing that, replying to an email in 4 seconds is more important than giving your dog a pat. Because, the dog will be dead one day. And my own situation, I see my daughter 2 or 3 days a week now instead of every day. And things change. People come and go from our lives. Customers come and go. And I think we could all really just reassess our priorities and work out, well, what do we value the most? And it doesn't mean you have to make less money. It doesn't mean you have to run a smaller business. In actual fact, I think it's the opposite, Michaela. I think it gives us the opportunity to run a better business because people really want that stuff these days. Customers want to be, they want to think that you give a crap about them.
That's it. And I think this will help you be more focused, and so you're actually going to produce more and better outcomes and feel better about yourself. And it will just have a flow-on impact in all areas of your life.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think it's about this week getting our listeners, to maybe pay attention to those moments in their life where they're not fully present, when they're doing something, doing two things at once. Look at me, I'm so great I can multitask, but it's actually, just starting to make yourself aware, because once you become aware of it and start that practice, you'll start noticing it more, and then you'll start hopefully doing it less.
And you'll be more productive anyway. We know it's been proven that batching tasks is much more efficient and effective than multitasking. Multitasking is a crock.
Yep.
It's a load of crap we got sold years ago, and they've studied it and they've shown that multitasking reduces decision-making quality, it reduces effectiveness, it reduces productivity. And so, part of it is we've been stitched up by technology companies and software companies to believe that multitasking is what we need to do. So that they sell more devices to help us do more things all at once.
And that's why Google's investing in driverless cars so you can be on the internet more.
Yep.
So
Because you can't focus on more than one thing at once. You can do more than one thing at once, but you can't give your focus and attention to more than one thing at once. And so, you try having a proper connected conversation with a customer while the telephone's ringing and a staff member is standing there waiting to ask you a question.
Just won't happen.
You can't do it. And everybody notices. The customer notices. The staff member gets frustrated, and the person at the other end of the phone waiting for it to get answered gives up. So you got to have a look at how can you give the attention to each task or person or whatever that it not only deserves but requires for you to get the results that you want. I mean, it really is a results-based thing as well. So anyway, I'm sure we could wax lyrical about this all day, Michaela.
Yes, we could, but we must go and be present in our lives.
I'm feeling very philosophical after my time in the bush.
Yes, well, that's good. I'm glad you've come back feeling refreshed and had some great perspective on life. So that's it.
That's it from me. And that's it from you, huh?
Yep, that's it. We're done. That's all we're talking about today.
Cool.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Cool.
Happy with that?
Yep.
That's like.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.